Hello everyone, I'm Weston's Weatherwise, and in today's video we break down the upcoming severe weather coming to the United States over the course of the next 3 days. Starting off with our day 1 outlook, you can see we do have an enhanced risk of severe weather in play now from the SPC in portions of Wyoming, South Dakota, and Montana, with a very large slight risk around that extending from portions of Montana and North Dakota down into portions of Nebraska and Wyoming, with a very large marginal risk outside of that, where we may see some gusty winds and some small hail. Now, today we do have a low tornado potential, but it is still there, so we do need to be watching this. But I don't really think anything too crazy will happen. I do think a bit more of an elevated tornado risk is across that area and a bit eastward, but overall, nothing too crazy. Now, the wind actually does look to be a bit on the higher side, as we do have a 30% hatched risk, along with a 15% hatched risk. So this hatched area represents a 10% probability that winds will exceed 74 miles an hour. And then that hail outlook, we do actually have a 15% hatched hail outlook. You can tell, same thing, but it's for hail, 10% chance of a hailstone exceeding 2 inches in diameter. Now, moving on to tomorrow, you can tell a very large slight risk of severe weather in play by the SPC. And don't leave out Maine, got a tiny marginal risk up there. But that slight risk of severe weather is in play, with a large marginal risk surrounding it. And whenever we go ahead and look at the probabilities for tomorrow, you can tell 2% tornado risk in play again. So we're going to have to watch that. 15% hatched wind risk. And we do have that 5% wind risk up here in portions of Maine. And then a 15% hatched hail risk. And this is another day tomorrow. I would actually anticipate a upgrade to an enhanced risk of severe weather again. Moving on to the day 3 outlook, you can tell we have a marginal risk in the northeast and portions of Pennsylvania, and we will actually touch on that one actually real fast after this. And then you can tell we do have a marginal risk up into portions of Minnesota and the Canadian border, into portions of the Oklahoma-Kansas state line. And then we have a slight risk of severe weather over portions of the same area. And I don't usually show this, the severe weather, the probability, as this is what it shows. But we have a hatched risk already on here. And this is a 10% probability of any significant severe weather. So we are actually going to we are anticipating an upgrade now to an enhanced risk, I feel. Moving on to the HRRR and what we could see today, you can tell here as we push this forward, storms are going to fire off right around 3 o'clock today, and they're going to explode. If we go forward now, you can tell they're already very intense. And this is where our tornado potential comes before they get into that more linear segment. As you can tell, they start to turn into a bit of a clustered to messy linear setup. And this is where we have to watch that damaging wind threat. So we're going to watch it. And once they form into that wind threat and that linear storm mode, the overall severe threat does look like it is going to diminish. Here's what the NAM-NST model is showing. And it is showing that same thing. It shows the supercells firing off and turning into that Boeing segment. But overall, nothing too crazy today, luckily. Here's the HRRR and what we could see tomorrow. You can see we're going to have leftover storms from today across portions of Colorado and Kansas. So we're going to watch that. But one thing that caught my eye when looking at this model is, I'll show you in a second, this area right here, it does pick up on storms firing. Now it's not the greatest environment. Yeah, if we go and look here at convective and surface-based cape, well, I didn't look at this. It's actually a pretty good environment here. And the sig tor values are literally 0. Okay, so that's good. Does not look to have a tornado threat, but these have caught my eye. These could actually be some big time hailers, but they do die out pretty fast actually. But that did catch my eye. But then less on that. You can tell storms fire tomorrow. We could actually have a few discrete cells out in this area, along with up here in portions of Nebraska. But storms are going to fire and form into a line pretty fast, or a clustered line, I should say. But then they're going to end up forming. These are slow-moving storms, so flooding is going to be a factor. So we're just going to have to keep an eye on it. Here's what the NAM-NST model is showing. Nothing too intense, really. It doesn't show them firing till around 6 p.m. and it doesn't even show them that intense. It does pick up on those supercells here in portions of Kansas, but they don't look to be as intense, so they might just be storms. HRRR shows supercells, so who knows? But we're definitely going to have to be watching it closely. Now, moving on to the NAM for the day 3 outlook, we can tell here, obviously this isn't the greatest model to look at, but we're still going to look at it. And you can tell this is in the morning. This is that slow moving line pushing through. I at least thought it was, but that was the actual storm right there. So you can tell right there, we're going to get a very big line of storms across a very large area. You can tell that would be in the path, but obviously it's not going to reach really past Kansas or Nebraska. So, gonna watch it, but very large line over there in portions of western Kansas and central and southwestern Nebraska. And looking actually up here in the northeast, we'll just actually pull this completely back. And if we go and look at it right now, we can see here that tomorrow we actually could see a few storms up here in Pennsylvania. And then moving forward, really nothing too severe. We actually may get a line of storms that pushes through off the Great Lakes. So this could pose a damaging wind threat, but a bit uncertain at the time of what is going to happen up there. Now, we do actually have tropical storm. I believe it is pronounced Chantel. Yeah, Chantel. And here we can see we are looking at potential landfall at 2 p.m. tomorrow. This would be 2 p.m. Eastern time. So we're definitely going to have to watch this. But it looks like it's going to stay a storm all the way into South Carolina. And then it's going to become a tropical depression as it tracks up into North Carolina and Virginia. So we're going to have to watch this. And we are actually going to look at a model over it. Here's just the arrival time of winds. The arrival time of the winds are as early as 8 p.m. Eastern tonight. So be preparing. There's not much time left, but if you were watching this in South Carolina, North Carolina, and you're on the eastern half of the South Carolina or North Carolina, gotta get prepared. It's not going to be like a major hurricane or anything, but just be prepared for excessive rainfall and some gusty winds. Now, looking at this model, this is the GFS. You can tell it has it tracking up through portions of South and North Carolina. And then it just dumps excessive rainfall as a tropical depression before it moves offshore. So definitely looks to be crazy and looks like starting to ramp up now. Our tropics, they're starting to really ramp up. So we're going to watch it over here in the course of the next few weeks. But definitely be staying weather aware. And I'm going out on the lake again today, so no live stream. But there's a bunch of other people out there that you can watch if you need it. So make sure to drop a like and subscribe if you are new here, as we are getting closer to 900 subs, just about 15 away. So I'd really appreciate it if you would subscribe as we push for 1K. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.